are going to be doing the In the Hoop Ouchie Bag, which is the unicorn. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is our first stitch on the machine, which is in red. It's going to show up as red, but you can do whatever color you want. I chose black here just so you guys can see it, but it does a basic outline of the unicorn face so that you know where to lay down your fabric. Okay, so the next stitching shows up as a yellow thread, also a single stitch. You are going to lay down whatever color fabric. I chose white for my unicorn, and this is kind of a chiffon type fabric, but you can use anything you want here. And lay that down, and it's going to do an entire outline stitching, the same stitching it just did over top of that piece of fabric there. Your next stitch out is going to be red again. I like to do my placement stitching in red, so this is going to be for her eyes, and it's just going to stitch out your placement stitching for where you need to lay down your material for her eyes. And I chose a white glitter vinyl, which actually warmed up, still doesn't compromise any of the fabric. I tested that out this weekend. So you can use a glitter vinyl here or a different type of fabric for the eyes. Your next stitch out is going to be yellow again, which is going to be your tack down stitching for those eyes. And again, I use the white glitter vinyl. And so you would just stitch that down, and we're going to go to the next step. Proceed to stitch out the black parts of the center of the eye. So both of those are fill stitches, and you can just move forward with those. We are moving right along with our unicorn. She's looking so cute. This one is going to also appear in red stitching, single stitching, and it's going to be your placement stitching. And I am putting down like a baby pink felt here, which I think would be really cute for her nose. And then you're going to have a yellow stitch out, which is going to be your tack down stitching for whatever material you choose to use on this portion. So I'm moving right along and doing the baby pink for the top of the nose, and then it's going to continue on into the ears of the unicorn. I did change the coloring of that to a red in case you did want to change that on your machine. It's going to move right into the black fill for the nose, and then it's going to do white satin stitching around the eyes, and then also I have it actually as a dark gray on the thread color, but I went ahead and did white around the ears and the bottom part of the unicorn face. But I did make that a different color in case you decided to change up the color of the center of your unicorn. Your next step is going to be a placement stitching again, which is going to show in a red thread color. And then I went ahead forward and am now doing the yellow tack down stitching, which I chose to be blue for the first hair color of the unicorn. And I just laid down a piece of lighter weight felt for the pieces of hair. Your next stitching on the machine is going to be the satin stitching for the top color of your hair. I have it as a blue. You can certainly change that. And you're basically going to repeat these steps again and again on the next two pieces of hair. So she has 3 different color pieces of hair, and you're going to repeat those same steps. The placement, tack down, and satin stitching. So just make sure you are cutting out your fabric after you do your placement stitching and you get it tacked down. I know some people are super visual, so I went ahead and just showed you guys how I snip around the centerpiece of the hair, but I basically do this for all of the steps. We are one step away from completing the stitching part of our bag, which is the magical horn. So I have, again, red our placement stitching, yellow our tack down, and gold for our horn, which of course you can change out to be whatever color you want. And that gold is going to do a satin stitch for you. Okay friends, we are at the very last step of our machine portion of our unicorn bag. If you watched the other Ouchie Bag tutorial that I did, it was just the assembly portion. This one went from start to finish. So these steps are very similar to the other bag. You're going to put that piece of fabric on the back side of your hoop with some 505 or adhesive spray. It's just a single layer, and then you're going to have a double layer right here going over the top part of your bag, and then another double layer, or just wrong sides going together, and put right on top of the other piece, so that you have like a 1 inch, 1.5 inch gap right there, so that it won't pucker whenever you put your ice pack in there. Make sure everything is nice and lined up, and stick it back under your machine. In your folder, you're going to have a second file, which is going to be the inner bag, which you would fill with your heating element. So there's only 3 steps here, which is going to be placement, and then this shown here is going to be your tack down. It needs to be a single layer of a lighter weight fabric. I just chose a pale pink here, and it's going to go all the way around the design, leaving about a 2-inch notch to the top, which is going to be where you're going to fill your bag with your materials. The second stitching is going to be also a single layer. Lay it on top. Make sure it covers up that square notch at the very top, and then go ahead and run a bean stitch around. It's going to stitch everything except that top notch portion. Yay, we are finally off our machine, and now we are to the cutting portion of the steps. So I went ahead and unhooped both of my stitch outs, and I went ahead and cut out the bag portion first. I am cutting stabilizer up, that way I know where the notch is, and I don't cut through that part by stitching, or cutting rather, on the outside of the fabric. So make sure that you don't cut that notch out. You want to cut around, and then we'll move on to the unicorn. We are going to turn this little sucker inside out and go ahead and put our filling in there. It takes a little bit of pushing to get everything all the way through there, and I like to do a quick iron on it at the end so that it's nice and crisp. And you are going to push your little tabs down into the bag so that you know where to kind of stop filling. Just showing you quickly here how I have it filled up with white rice. I use the funnel to do that. Just make sure you give yourself enough room, about 1 inch, to be able to get that bag up underneath your machine and stitch it closed, or you can also use fusible tape or hand stitch that part closed right there. Alrighty, next I cut out around my unicorn bag, and that little sucker was thick, so I ended up having to get my big time scissors out, and probably next time I would line the backing with just a cotton fabric so that it wasn't so thick to cut around and kind of push everything through. But you just want to cut around whatever pattern print you have, and we are going to turn it inside out. We are so close to being done. You are just going to flip your pouch inside out where that little flap over was, and you're going to push all those elements inside out. If you have a hard time getting into those tight spaces with your finger, use a flat-headed screwdriver. That's what I use. Just make sure you don't push too hard where you're going to pop your stitches out, but that seems to be the right tool for the job. So just keep pushing around until you get all of those little tiny adorable things pushed out. Here she is. She's all pushed out. There's a little flap there, and I'm just going to show you one more time how to use a screwdriver to push your elements through there and get them nice and wiggled out. So we are now going to poke our little rice packet in there, which I already stitched up, and then this little baby is ready to go. You can warm your bag up in the microwave for about 30 to 45 seconds. They stay heated for about an hour to an hour and a half. And I used white rice here, so you can use any dried rice. You can also use dried beans or corn, but you have to make sure they are dried or they can get moisture in the bag. You can freeze or microwave these little cuties up. So I hope you guys had fun, and I can't wait to see what you guys make on our Facebook page. Thanks for watching.